Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2021 Young Women Run virtual conference. We're so sad we cannot be together in person, but we're just so excited to connect with you all virtually. So my name is Angelica Espinoza. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently serving as Ignite San Diego Fellow. In my work, I work to organize the women in my community, ensure that they're getting elected to local office, ensuring that they have opportunities to get involved with policy. And a lot of that work stems from my passion of just serving marginalized communities and really ensuring that we address the equity gap as well as just diversity issues within our community. So today we have two amazing panelists. So we're going to start off with Ashley Draper. Ashley Draper is the co-founder and director of outreach and strategic partnerships for San Diego Change Coalition. We also have with us today Nicole Beckett, co-founder of Same Side. So starting off with Ashley, I'm going to go ahead and read her bio, and then she'll tell us a little bit more about herself. So Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Ashley Draper is a civil rights and equity change agent, redesigning and reimagining a country of normalized fairness and equity. Her driving belief is that if a product is delivered and results in poor user experience for some people, then that is an intrinsic flaw in the design. These flaws can be redesigned. By day, Ashley works in government as a strategist and innovator utilizing data assets and insights into informed solutions. When she is not working or attending classes full-time, Ashley is working tirelessly on efforts to advance the mission of SAC Change Coalition, an organization she co-founded. SAC Change Coalition was established in the heart of the summer 2020 protest to dismantle institutionalized racism within our local criminal justice system by electing progressive district attorney and sheriff. As the organization's director of outreach and strategic partnerships, Ashley is confident that her team will elect Sacramento's first progressive district attorney. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us. We really appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then could you elaborate a little bit more about the amazing work that you're doing in Sacramento?
Absolutely. Our little small team, we really did come together in the heart of last summer's protests. More than wanting to go out and just demonstrate in the street, a lot of us just felt like, how can we tap into this energy? It was so palpable out there. Folks were yelling, but really saying a clear message, and that's that they wanted change. I wish I could show you this picture that we took last summer, but we were out there with literal QR codes on signs saying, scan this if you want to recall District Attorney Ann Schubert. I kid you not, that petition has almost 10,000 signatures. That's 10,000 people who want their voices heard, but just really don't know how to engage in government. That barrier, like you read in the bio, that barrier to me is by design. And if there's no real solutions for it, I feel like that SAC Change's opportunity to fix something and reimagine what our civic engagement looks like with progressive candidates.
Absolutely. And that is so important. So I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing. All right. So now we're going to introduce our next panelist. So we have Nicole Beckett. So Nicole Beckett is the CEO and co-founder of Same Side, a tech platform making grassroots political action accessible through millions of events and gatherings people attend every day. Having countless friends say, I want to do more, but I don't know how, Nicole knew that there had to be a way to meet people where they are at to get others involved and passionate about issues affecting them and their communities. She started Same Side in 2017 with a phone back session for Sarah Hernandez, a young progressive candidate for U.S. Congress, followed by a craft brewery crawl in downtown Los Angeles. Since then, Same Side has empowered hosts to lead thousands of grassroots political events and actions such as phone banking, text banking, legislator calling, and raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for issues like healthy food in impacted communities, defending DACA, and criminal justice reform, and so much more. So thank you so much, Nicole Beckett, for joining us today. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more about the work that you do?
Sure. I gave you a mouthful to read already, but thank you. Thank you, Angelica. Well, thanks for having me too. And Ashley, I love the work that you're doing. I think, this movement has really started of, what we really believe in at Same Side is we have to meet people where they're at to engage in political action, exactly for the reason that you said, Ashley, is because we feel that by design, obviously we're seeing this a lot now happening across the country, just so explicitly, where people want to make it harder for all of us to engage in politics so that more people's voices are being heard. Because we really believe at Same Side is that when more people's voices are represented in politics, you'll see a lot more policies, a lot more politicians, a lot more people elected that represent the people. What a crazy idea, right? And so we started Same Side in 2017. Like Angelica said, after what happened in 2016, we heard a lot of people saying, I wanted to do more to get involved, but I didn't know how. How did this happen? And we realized that we had to find a way to fit political action into people's lifestyles. And so we created Same Side as an events platform, similar to Eventbrite, where you create an event. It could be anything from a yoga class to maybe it is a panel, or maybe it's, a brunch with your friends, but you connect it to a campaign. And during your event, you get ways to take action politically. So since 2017, we've had phone banking in wine shops. And it's not us, it's other people hosting these things. Phone banking in wine shops. We've had one young woman hosted her 24th birthday party, and all her friends took action for reproductive justice. Across the board, meditation sessions that then took action for Ban the Box. So many people are gathering in these events or in these little, communities already. Let's give them a way to get involved in the things that matter to them, whether it be advocating for policy or taking part in getting people elected that represent them. And we're trying to make that as easy as possible.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm already starstruck by both of you and the amazing work that you did. We're so grateful. All right, so we're going to kick it off with the first question, and I'm going to throw it first to Ashley. So what is your why, and what about your work gets you up in the morning and keeps you energized?
Gets me up, that assumes that I go to sleep. My why, I think, really centers around my favorite quote, and that is, be the change you want to see in the world. And I can't get over or overstate how powerful the summer 2020 protests were. I mean, we saw folks out there from different countries that all knew the name, and they all wanted to get involved. So my why is it's every day. I need to be the change. I'm raising a 13-year-old African-American boy, teenager, let me not. And it's my duty as a parent to make sure that his future is shaped and made better by my actions today. I think sometimes we get caught up in our own world and our own spaces, and we forget that there's folks coming up behind us. And so I applaud the folks who fight for environmental justice. Yeah, we're all gonna maybe have children, grandchildren who need to exist on this planet, and it's our job to care. So being the change, SAC Change Coalition, there's so many sectors and industries to get involved with, so many opportunities where change is needed. I think that instead of just yelling, kicking, and screaming, it is more advantageous for us to put our money where our mouths are and really be that change, whatever that might look like.
Thank you so much. All right, and now Nicole.
What Ashley said. I mean, that was like so perfectly put. I think, from our perspective on Same Side, so we're, using technology to reach more people. And what that means is we're not going to have these huge major events every single day. What we really believe it's the small individual events with your own network, your own community. We try to say to everybody, we all have influence, whether we're Beyonce with our bajillion followers, or we're, me with my 500 followers. Like, those 500 people are listening to what I put out, and the steps that I take and the things that I do make a difference. And then they go and tell two people, and then they go and tell two people. And that's how these changes happen. And so exactly like Ashley said, we all need to do our individual action. and, finding new ways every single day through same side, through technology, through partners, through coalitions, to be able to further everyone's understanding of their agency and their role in this process, in this government, is what keeps me up at night. Same thing. And it's what gets me up in the morning to keep doing. And just the satisfaction in convincing somebody, the times when I hear from people like, I didn't realize that I could do that. And knowing that they did something and they felt purpose and they felt so much energy. There's so much that we can do. And it doesn't have to be these huge changes, because change does not happen overnight. It does not happen instantly. It happens with each of us taking these small little steps that builds up to that really big step. So getting somebody to just get on that first ladder, that first rung on the ladder, to start their journey, which is what I think is so beautiful with Ignite, is like getting just young women and other people just understanding their role, just that first start. It's what we try to do every day, and then grow them from there into more really robust political engagement.
Nicole, that was so perfect. That I feel like if we lived closer,
I know,
on the same side.
Same side can happen anywhere. We can do it. We can make it happen.
You're so right. Instilling that agency. I feel like former President Obama put it best when he was campaigning for Joe Biden last year. Change doesn't happen overnight. What you do is you show up, you vote, you get a little change. You show up again, you vote, you get a little more change. So I think it's important that we set our expectations right out the gate. It took a while for us to get here, but we have to start somewhere. So let's start chomping at the bit now. Let's get more people involved now, so that, in the next generation, or even in ours, we can actually see those changes take shape. So I love everything you just said.
Yep, exactly. Agreed.
Couldn't agree more with you too. And then just a reminder to our audience, feel free to type in any questions that you may have in our comment box, and then we'll be sure to address them. Okay, so going on to the second question, but this time we'll start with Nicole. So what does your organization do, and why is it important for those aspiring to serve in office to engage and participate with grassroots organizations like the one that you are a part of?
Exactly. Thank you. So, continuing on kind of what we've talked about, what we see is so key to greater engagement and greater change is meeting people where they're at so that they can get involved, and just making it fit into their lifestyle. So making it fun, making it interesting. Like, politics is so intimidating to so many people, but essentially politics is just the issues you care about and advancing them, using your voice to advance them, making sure that your voice is heard. And so what Same Side does, again, is give tools to the conveners, the gatherers, the people that are already bringing people together, whether it's a restaurant owner. We're in LA. We had a restaurant owner in Wilmington, which is a historically Hispanic community, a really great, amazing restaurant down there. We gave them the tools to host a dinner for DACA, and people came who said, I was nervous to get involved in this issue because I haven't been involved in it, since the founding, since the beginning. But because, I love Santa Luna, I come here every day. Because they were hosting this dinner for DACA, I was like, I wanted to come right away. And it's that trust that you all have in your communities, and others do, that we're really trying to leverage to bring people together and give them that opportunity to lower the barrier to get involved in politics for the issues that they care about, because it doesn't have to be an us versus them thing, right? Like, these are just things that are important to us. And if we keep that focus on, look, this is what I care about, this is what I'm going to advocate for, rather than saying like, oh, this is what they're doing, that's bad. It's like, no, let's use our power to advocate for what we care about. And with Same Side, we want to give those tools to the people that are already bringing people together, to be just really positive and fight for the change that they want to see, and keep it on that movement to move forward. And so, we're an itty bitty startup, we're an itty bitty organization, but we've really been able to bring in so many people that have their networks, big and small, to leverage that and keep giving them the tools to keep moving forward. And really that's it, like taking what you have and using that for the change that you want to see. And we want to spread that far and wide for more people.
Amazing. All right. And then Ashley?
Thanks. Wow. I love Same Side. I feel like I'm just being introduced to, I love it. I love everything that you guys stand for and everything that you're doing. What it sounded like to me is that you were speaking to accessibility, making civic engagement accessible. And that is huge, because that's a design flaw with how our systems are set up, to be honest. SAC Change Coalition, I would say, is very much in line with that. When we set out, we wanted to recall our current district attorney. And just so your viewers know who that person is, Anne-Marie Schubert is the person who, instead of convicting the cops who murdered Stephon Clark in his grandmother's backyard, she sent the family home with an 800-page document explaining why she was not going to push for a conviction. It's so disheartening. The folks that are messed over in our criminal justice system. And I can't help but believe that hinges largely on the local district attorney. It hinges on our law enforcement. And so SAC Change gathered, and we're a broad tent, we're too small to keep things closed. I think we're stronger in numbers. But we assembled, targeting those two elected offices, and also voter registration. We see what's happening in Atlanta, making it harder for people to really express their voices and express their opinions. Well, if you diminish that and you cut people off there, how else are they supposed to express themselves? Our goal is to register as many folks as we can. I think whether you're Democrat, Republican, undecided, don't want to be anything, I think that you can agree on the principle of wanting to raise your family in a safe place. I don't care what your politics are. I don't think you want any harm to happen to your family. And so really that's our message. It is not to close folks out. SAC Change Coalition partners with folks for a lot of different issues. We were part of a team yesterday who was pushing for non-law enforcement responses to mental health crises. And in Sac County, that's going to happen. And that's not something that can happen alone or in a silo. So we hope that your audience, if you guys are in the Sacramento area or just interested in how to become involved, I think it's important that you know that becoming civically engaged is not inaccessible to you. I admittedly knew nothing. I had no idea how hard a recall would be. Someone politely told me, hey, do you have a couple $1 million? No, but I have school debt. I don't, but I do think that something should happen here. And I don't think that there should be a financial barrier to doing it. So I hope that this inspires more folks to become involved. You don't have to be a scholar. Don't wait until you read that book or read that article to get involved. If you want to do something, you center yourself around that issue, I promise you that the people will follow. You'll find a group to which you can belong, or you'll start your own.
Yeah, we just to quickly, glom onto that, like we really believe in there's people power and there's monetary power. And if you have both, amazing. But people power, we just went through this in LA where we changed our district attorney. And it was because of grassroots groups that just mobilized so many people. The other district attorney was our former district attorney was very well funded. We got people power. And so at Same Side, our tagline is power through people. And really, you can get a ton of money or you can get a ton of people, and you got to start somewhere. But people power is just so, so powerful. And frankly, it's way more fun. So I love it.
Well, thank you so much all for sharing. So this question just came to me. A lot of Ignite women are college age or transitioning from high school to college or just graduated from college like myself. So what experiences from your college or your education really helped you pave the path forward to where you are now? Or if, perhaps you pivoted when you were younger and went into a different direction. How did you manage to pivot from a different, to form your different path? Anyone who feels comfortable, feel free to jump in.
I'm still pivoting. I mean, that is life. That really is. For some people, they're super decided and they know right out of the gate what they're going to do. For others, you find yourself kind of spinning for a while, still progressing, but spinning nonetheless, right? I feel that my college education didn't teach me this, but it did show me what it looks like to work on a team. It did show me what it looks like to lend a hand or connect whatever skill set you have to what it is you're doing. I was thinking about this when we were preparing for this panel. There's folks on our team, I mean, we couldn't be more different. We have completely different backgrounds. Some of us are in tech and that's our thing. Others are in graphics and that's a whole different thing. We have someone who geeks out about finances and it's like, cool, because that's not my jams, but we need that. I think it all just, whatever you're good at, I promise you, finding the issue that wakes you up and keeps you up at night is the most important. So you don't necessarily have to fit into whatever mold you think you might need to. If your jam is, I love music, well, political rallies need music. Mm-hmm. They need folks who have an ear for that. If you are really into art, see how can that advance your environmental justice team. I just really find your passion in the issue and your skill and your talent. It'll make a way for itself.
Yeah, I mean, where you think you are now, I mean, your life can probably take a million different turns. So I graduated with a degree in international development and Chinese. And I thought, I was going to work in an NGO overseas and save the world that way. Well, I got out of college, I took my first job and, various things happened. I ended up working, I was in San Francisco. I ended up working for a VC firm and transitioned into more tech. And I did end up going to China after that, working for an e-commerce startup, which an e-commerce startup is 100 miles away from an NGO. But while I was there, I was realizing, first of all, I was living in China and understanding, civil liberties and the value of civil liberties. I think if you have your core values and you understand what is sort of important to you in life, that thread will not change no matter what job you're doing. Exactly like Ashley said, whatever it is your work is, there's still pieces of your core values within, if you're working for a huge institution to a small nonprofit, that will always come through and can be incorporated into what you do. So I wouldn't get so hung up on, I need to find the exact right job for exactly what it is I want to do. I think, take something that exposes you to, if you can be in the industry that you love or industry that you want, go for it. But don't always worry that you've got to be doing the exact same thing that that you think is perfect for you, because you will go on all these different twists and turns and eventually find, what it is that makes you get up in the morning. And, to where I am today, having that background of both tech. So after I left China, I came back, I worked for the mayor of LA. and was part of his international development team. So bringing in funding, overseas funding, to invest in LA. This was after the Great Recession. So again, like I have all this exposure, and just really recognizing that kind of led me to this journey of where I realized how powerful tech can be and needs to be for civic engagement. So to protect our civil liberties, to be able to communicate with your elected officials, particularly locally elected officials. And that all led me to where I am today with Same Side. And this is, this is my life's work now. So it's all about the journey, understanding who you are and what your principles are and what you really believe in, that will lead you eventually to what you is, and you make what you want to do. And you may never find that perfect thing. It's the journey continues, like this is not the be all end all for me. Like this is something that I'm continuously working on and bringing in new people and coalitions. So just have that core sense of value, and then see where it takes you, because if you're not so structured, it's a little bit more interesting along the way, and you'll open yourself up to a lot more opportunities.
So true. Embrace the journey and everything that it teaches you.
Mm-hmm.
You will learn lessons in the most unusual, unexpected places. I didn't live in China, but I visited right before the pandemic hit, and didn't expect to learn anything there, but I travel for a sense of culture, to experience different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, China, it could not have been more rich in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that had nothing to do with education. That's just kind of it's a personal drive. My undergrad, I finished in 2011. And we were just like coming out of the recession. I completed my BA in psychology. Do I use it today? No. Sadly not. By the time I was ending the program, I decided I wanted to go to dental school and study dentistry. So I started taking all these different science classes, found out science is not my thing. And so you guys are better off not having me as a dentist. And so now I'm back in school for my master's in business administration, with a concentration in strategy and innovation. But it took all of these pivots, it took all of these different kind of branches off of my path to find that that's what fuels me. So I really do stress, embrace the gray, embrace the uncertainty, because that's how you'll really power through when you're just like, what am I supposed to do? What happens now? Just enjoy the journey for what it's going to teach you.
Oh, we got a psych major in here. Oh my gosh. These are the words I needed to hear. Someone who just graduated and into a pandemic. I graduated in 2020, and now I'm in my first year of grad school. And let me tell you, folks, I have no idea what I know. Thank you. But I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like thinking of the trajectory of my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just so scary to just kind of visualize the future, especially during these uncertainties. So I think
I am a lot older than you, and I still sometimes have no idea what I'm doing. So do not worry.
I feel like 1,000 pounds of stress lifted off of me.
You're in the best place to not know what you're doing.
Yes.
In a grad program, best place for that.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, these words are so comforting. I'm going to walk out of here super excited. All right, so on to our next question. So what are some of the greatest lessons you've learned in your line of work during the pandemic? What practices do you think will live on as we progress towards going back in person? And then we'll give it to, let's see, Nicole.
Oh man, that is, how much time do we have? So, we're an events platform. So yeah, trying to roll that through a pandemic was great. It was a really great business model. But, tactically, we obviously had to add in some functionality, make virtual events be, a much more prominent role on our platform, which we never really envisioned in any way, shape, or form prior to March 2020. But here we are, and now SameSide is a global company. We've had people come from countries from every continent, all over the world, join in on events. And so I think the virtual, while the isolation was pretty horrendous for a lot of people, I do think we also connected in a different way virtually through ways we didn't imagine we could. And we really saw that on SameSide, where these events, there was a menstrual equity event hosted by an Australian company, an Australian period panty company that brought in all of the menstrual equity groups from all over the world to talk about what it was like in their country and share ideas. And it was a dance party, a panty party. It was a panty party, actually. Like just the ingenuity of of people, of women, really. I mean, let's be honest. To be able to, do a really quick intake of the situation. So my brother was actually a Navy SEAL, and he always taught me, like, when you're hit with uncertainty, you do a quick intake of the situation, understand your resources, and then what can you do to, mitigate the situation. And I think, panicking in any situation is not helpful. So we've got to do an intake. What can we do to move forward? And it's the same thing, like you can use that throughout life completely, like when somebody's elected who, doesn't represent your values. Okay, that sucked. What can we do now to move forward? Because if you get stuck in the burden of it, if you get stuck in the how it's affecting you, we're going to be stuck. And in every situation, we just need to look how we can move forward. So I think now virtual is really here to stay as far as the events and connection side. And, I think it'll be much more of a hybrid model going forward, but there's a lot of benefit to that. In person, there's no replacement for that, like human connection, but I think we're going to be able to take the benefits of both and move forward in terms of our, at least, human connection and moving movements forwards, politics forwards, everything.
Right, and then now on to Ashley, if you don't mind sharing.
I hope you can see this. Can you see this picture? Kind of, sort of. So this is how we kind of started out in trying to engage, right? And then that quickly advanced to this. This was a very, to me, it's low tech because it's super simple. You take out your phone. Folks they're used to seeing this. We needed a way to gather folks' information really quickly and in a way that was touch free. I think it's more advances like this, common sense things that we know and use in other industries, bringing that here. I have no idea why things are so antiquated. No one wants to sit with a clipboard and be out somewhere gathering signatures. I think folks are able to attend more meetings and get more out of them virtually in this new virtual space. I know it's allowed me to be more productive and maximize my time. But I think it's just common sense. What can we do in a way that allows accessibility? We also want to reach a younger generation. They want to get engaged. They're just not going to go fill out a 200-page form because why? So trying to break that down into bite-sized pieces and saying, hey, group over here, can you guys take this single page and produce this action item and email it back, So I cannot overstate just bringing in things that we see from other industries and what best practices or pro tips are happening over there. Nicole mentioned phone banking in a place that I would never associate phone banking with. it's genius. And it takes away the stress and the barrier to thinking, well, how can I do that? How would me participating be helpful? Like, you'd really be surprised. So I just cannot overstate just making it accessible to folks and meeting people where they are, truly. If the young folks are on TikTok, guess where you should be?
Yeah, I would also really stress, like, celebrate the small things. You know, like, again, we look for these major wins, but if you get 10 people to sign up for your email list, or, you know, your text chain or whatever, that's big. Like, that's a start. That's huge, because those 10 people might tell one person each, and then it just grows from there. So again, I cannot stress enough, like, it does not need to be this massive, massive movement, because guess what? Those massive movements did not happen overnight. The movement for Black Lives has been operating for a long time, right? And then they were able to mobilize people. These groups were able to mobilize people from, you know, starting way back when. So take pride, like, that you started something. If you get 5 people at your first virtual event, you know, if that happens, that's 5 people who never would have been exposed to what you're leading them to. If you're running for office and you get 10 donors, that is amazing. That is, like,
That's
the
huge.
first step. Like, that's way more than most other people have done, right? So you have to start small. And if you're not starting small, then, you know, then you've waited too long almost, right? Like, you're not putting the pieces in place to grow big. And so just really, really be proud of the little incremental growth you have every single day.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, we needed to hear this. I know so many of the Ignite chapter leaders, they run kind of like their own organizations on campus, and they'll say, oh my goodness, I only had 5 people show up. I'm like, girl, be proud. It's 5 people that showed up and they're super excited about, like, your mission. So I think we really needed to hear this. I think sometimes we get a little discouraged, but I think it's also just setting realistic expectations and moving forward with that. You know what I mean? Like, building upon the success that we already have, even if it's something so small. So thank you so much. Oh, see, Carolyn's writing it down. Perfect. And a reminder
It really those 5 people are going to be the only ones that do the work.
Yeah,
That's true.
super volunteers. They're the best.
And then just a reminder to our audience, if you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to type them in and we'll be happy to address them. Okay, so on to the next question. So what advice do you have for the what advice do you have for the future political leaders when it comes to gaining support and partnership with organizations and members like the ones that you both work for? And then we'll start off with Ashley.
Oh, that's easy. I would suggest them, our team has started watching film, because I feel like in this new age of documenting and trying to lay the blueprint for the next generations, I'm like, somebody has to have done this before that we can model our work after. Larry Krasner's run in Philly was our progressive DA kind of model. And we noticed on their website, not on Larry Krasner's website, but the People's DA for Philadelphia, they had a set of survey questions, and they were polling really the public. They're saying, hey, folks, this will be your representative. What do you want from this person? What issues matter most to you? I think it was a survey of 7 or 8 questions, and they had all of the DA candidates submit their responses and display them publicly. So what happened there is there was full transparency in what these candidates, potential incumbents or occupants of that seat would vote on or would do if elected to office. And everyone in the public was able to see that on full display. I thought that was amazing. We've also been watching, we watched the docuseries AOC, I think it's called Knockdown, but if you search AOC on Netflix, it's the first thing that pops up. Oh by the end of it, you're like in tears, you have chills. You're like, how did she do this? Mm-hmm. She was a bartender. I did not know that. She worked her butt off trying to uplift the voices of the folks in her community. That's how you do it. Mm-hmm. I think it's more powerful. I think it's more meaningful if it's a full-fledged grassroots effort. You're talking to the folks on the ground. You know the climate of of your community, and you know what their issues are. Who's not going to vote for that? Who's not going to show up and vote in their best interests? I know that sometimes it doesn't happen, mm-hmm. But really, I think we've lost elections just because folks didn't have a good candidate to vote for. So their vote was, I'm not going to vote at all. Mm-hmm. That was their way of protesting or boycotting. So I can't stress enough just having a grassroots informed sort of race. You want to be the candidate who knows what's happening on the ground, and people can see through that.
Yeah, I think like to piggyback off of that exactly, it's coalition building, you know, relationships are so key. And I think this goes back to kind of the earlier question about, you know, just graduating from college. And one thing that I cannot, again, stress enough either is relationship. Every single connection you make with a person is a relationship that you want to nurture, maintain, keep in the back of your mind, and understand that this relationship may come back to, you know, you may need to call on that person may need to call on you. You know, really, really understanding that every person you meet is somebody that you can support, that may support you in the future. And I've had this, like LinkedIn is like the best, right? Like you go through and you want to connect with an organization and you see who's there, like, oh my God, this person I had a psych class with in college works for that organization or so. Like all of those relationships are really powerful and really matter. And particularly when you're either running for office or building a grassroots organization, coalition building is so powerful with, you know, groups that have the same goals as you. And, you know, you're not going to align on everything, but there are ways that you can leverage what you've done, what you've created together, again, using your people power to move forward, either your, as a candidate, your issues that matter, or as an organization, the issues that you guys overlap on to move forward. And like that just brings in more people. So what I've noticed is just coalition building, making connections with the most people. And, you know, it may not be something that you guys do right away. It may be a few months from now, a year from now, whatever. But that having that relationship is so important. Likewise, you know, when they need you and your group to, you know, be supportive of something that they're doing, that's really powerful. You know, it goes both ways. And so just understanding that dynamic and that role as you move forward, but sort of like laying the building blocks for building out your organization is really focusing on that coalition building.
Very well said, Nicole.
I think you're on mute, Angelica.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Okay, so thank you. Okay, thank you for bringing it back. I was struggling to find it. Okay, so from Miko Baker, thank you so much. I founded a 501c3 in the Bay Area that's BIPOC ran and focuses on art, education, social entrepreneurship called Stories for Solidarity. Ooh, I love that name. How do we maintain the light positivity when many of our leadership / communities we serve face trauma every day? That's such a good question. How do we keep the light while simultaneously calling for the action without losing the positive vibes per se? Now, so what do y'all do for self-care? The burnout is real.
Such a good question.
Really good.
When I started, I was super gung-ho and I wanted to do everything. I had a burning desire to see reparations happen. So I found a group that was doing that. I desperately wanted to change the district attorney. Didn't see a group that was doing it, so I started it. I wanted to see racial equity in my workplace. Started that. The burnout is very real. I have like a few extra gray hairs that I'm not gray. Someone told me to center self-care and really like lean into that. Don't, I think as women, sometimes we try to overcompensate and say, no, I got it. I got it. I can handle it. I can handle it. Like that was my mantra. I can handle it. Know when you can't. It is okay to need help. You don't have to lead everything. You don't have to be out in front all the time. I think it's so something more actionable. Find someone you can trust who can do that work or pick up that slack. Accept that other teams might be advancing an issue that you really do care about. So maybe watch it, but you don't have to be involved. I don't know how real multitasking is. So if you can find that one thing that energizes you most, I say dig in there and just kind of check in on these other efforts. For like physical self-care, I make sure that I go and take a walk. I downloaded Audible and I've now read like 3 books, and that is, albeit I'm listening to racial equity stuff that's firing me up, but I'm on a walk. And so if I'm not like calm, when I'm closer to the house, I just keep going, take a longer walk. So getting your body moving. My co-founder, she mentioned she needs to feel that release of serotonin. And I'm like, I didn't get that. Like you do need that chemical release that tells your body you're okay, you're fine, and you can get up and keep pushing on these issues, because self-care, it's really tough. It really is. But you do have to find that balance.
Yeah, I mean, Miko, this is a really, really good question. And I think self-care and making that more of a piece, not when you realize you need it, because then it may be a little bit too late, right? Doing it, incorporating it into your work as a part of your work, understanding that self-care is part of your work, and ensuring that you and your team are keeping themselves strong and healthy is really, really important. And I think, the fact that you're already bringing that up shows that you understand that and are aware of that. And that's really, really good. And, I think some days this work is heavy. It is. It does get heavy. It does get overwhelming. And like we've talked about, like, we want to achieve the results tomorrow. We want to achieve the results yesterday. We wish they were achieved yesterday, but they weren't. And that's why we're in this work. And the fact that we're in this work means we are doing something about it. And it's going to be heavy. But again, that's why I go back to like, take pride in the small incremental changes, because you need those, the small incremental wins. You need those to get to the eventual bigger picture wins, and just know that you are a part of that. You are a part of that. And the fact that you're centering it on art, on social entrepreneurship, like all of these things are incredible and amazing. You get it and you're doing it. So just keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. Make self-care an integral part of your organization, and supporting your friends and supporting everyone who's working with you in that way when they need it, before they need it. And I think that, you'll be able to really propel your healthy organization. And when people are, having their moment, having their time, like, we understand, we're there for you. Let's go for it. But there was a study done by the Mayo Clinic that showed one way to combat depression was volunteerism, and being part of a purpose higher than yourself. I think, in this study, it showed that that is one way. The outcomes were for people who had taken part in volunteering for an issue or a cause that they cared about, they had more positive and healthier mental health outcomes. And so keeping everyone's focus on the big picture and that you're actually doing something about it, showing those incremental wins will help to keep the momentum going, the movement going. And, it's not always going to be positive vibes. Sometimes you do need to sit in like what the craziness is and like talk through it. And that's okay. That is totally okay. But the fact that you're already working towards the bigger goal and doing things about it is really, really positive, really strong, really healthy for your community. And I really applaud you on that.
Yeah. Shout out to Miko. Founding a 501c3 is not small time. That's huge. Awesome. I don't know if I'm sold on the term BIPOC. That's not my term. But if it is a person that you that identifies as such and you feel that that person needs help, I say come to them really being helpful. If you see that they're shouldering a lot of the work, put yourself out there to be of help. I think a lot of times people take it on because they don't really trust that it'll get done if they don't do it. So if you can lend a hand and you are a trusted person who'll deliver on it, that is so invaluable.
We needed these words of wisdom from both of you. So thank you so much for sharing your insight and kind of your tips and tricks. I think the burnout is real. And also just kind of those imposter syndromes and all the stress that really comes with the work that we're all doing in our communities. Well, if we can believe it, we actually went over time. So thank you so much to Ashley and to Nicole for the incredible work that they're doing. Shout out to SAC Change Coalition, to Same Side. The work that you do is invaluable. Y'all are doing the Lord's work. Seriously. Thank you so much. And thank you to the audience for hearing us out and hearing these amazing women and these leaders speak out on their experiences and what they're doing. We're so grateful for all of you tuning in and really, taking these bits of wisdom and then turning that back into your community to create, even greater change. So thank you all so much for tuning in, for joining us for the Young Women Run Conference. We're so excited. And again, I encourage you all to check out the websites and then all the other social media that they've shared with us to learn more about what they do. So thank you all.
Thank you, Angelica. And thank you, audience. You guys are great. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, everybody. And thank you, Angelica.